Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the second interview in our ongoing series Shades of Green 2.0. We are having our second interview which is going to be a very different from the kind of interviews that we have been conducting so far. So far, we have been talking to architects and designers. Today, we are going to talk to an engineer from Ahmedabad who has started an entrepreneurship with goals of achieving sustainability in terms of materials. I'm talking about Keyur Sarda from Kesarjan Building Center. Keyur bhai, welcome on ArchiDiaries.
Thank you, Ayaz, for giving me such a good opportunity.
Before I hand it over to Keyur and before we start the presentation, please allow me to say a few words about Keyur Sarda. Keyur Sarda is a graduate of School of Building Science and Technology, CEPT University, and exploring building materials is his passion. He set up Kesarjan Building Center Private Limited at Ahmedabad, an entrepreneurial venture taken to address the growing demand of building materials with upcycled materials. Exploring range includes natural materials like mud, lime mortar, industrial byproducts, utilization of C&D waste, along with various construction techniques. He loves to share the understanding and ideas as faculty as well as in workshops. Uh, Purtha, can you please share the introductory text?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Shall I start or?
Yes, Kale, you can please start.
Yes, thank you. I would just share my screen. Yes, thank you, Ayaz and team. This is a very unique opportunity I have got. uh, Here I am going to present the my life throughout this entrepreneurship. The purpose is that many times we think of doing something sustainable, something that is different than the conventional, what we call as appropriate or the alternative technologies. But it is difficult to execute. At the time of execution, we find it difficult to execute the work or the bring that idea to the reality is always a hurdle race, because the finding material, finding the appropriate artisan and the resource person or the engineers group would be always a difficulty. So my journey, fortunately, is collaboration, or the, as Suryabai told, it's the ecology that has supported uh, the idea of sustainability, as well as the my enterprise Kesarjan Building Center. It's thriving and continuing because of the support I have received from the society, from the fraternity, from the family, from the friends that I have to this point. So this is the strengthening of belief in the sustainability, with a view that the people are always positive to the idea of something positive. I would just start with the fundamental, how I started with the Kesarjan Building Center. As Ayaz mentioned that I am the graduate of the SBST, and the education, because the zeal was there to do something on my own, and the support from the family was there. But the education methodology that has developed my thinking process was something very important. I still remember that in '93, we went to Mumbai to see the first RMC plant in India. So that was the interest taken by the faculty and the methodology, that we were always exposed to latest things in the or the current uh, scenario in the construction industry. And that time, the fly ash was a very new material, very novice to the some practicing engineers also. And I was knowing that. My luck, I was quite a lucky man in the sense EDI, Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, based in Ahmedabad, has started in '95 with open learning program for entrepreneurship. That was to prepare the technical person for a business, because we are not aware of the commercial aspect of the finance or the accounts or the management. So that was the course they offered, and I am this proud second batch student of that year. So that was an all-round training by the EDI, and the technical training by the CEPT has given me a good ground to select the fly ash project. Why the fly ash, or why the recycling? Because my interest and my hobby was recycling. I was for a long time volunteer with the WWF, and I was always interested in recycling or the resource minimization, I would say, on the aspect. All the thing was proving a very good pathway for my venture. And that time, the building center movement by the HUDCO was also at the peak. We got the recognition as a building center, and that's what the Kesarjan Building Center denotes. And the building center movement was initiated by the HUDCO for transferring technology from the laboratory to the field. That is appropriate technology, bringing appropriate technology. They also found the need to have a mechanism to transfer that one, I would say, catalyst to have a process bringing the that technology to the ground. So all things in place, I started looking for the material for the flash brick. I went to Raipur also, where at that time in '95 it was the hub for manufacturing flash bricks, and that we gave the consultancy to CFRI Bangalore also. CFRI didn't help me a lot, but fortunately, across the road, the IISc campus was there, and I met Professor Jagdish, though I was not knowing him personally, or I have never heard of him in '95. But he gave me, it was a candid meet, and he gave me 1.5 hours explaining the fly ash and the other technologies, basic understanding of the fly ash-based material, working of the fly ash-based material or the pozzolanic material. All the technical literature I went through was mentioning that lime and fly ash reacts and makes the chemicals like compositions like atringite, fahrenheit, and etc., which is very typical word, technical jargon, which which is very difficult to digest. But very simple note prepared by Jagdish sir was very helpful, I would say. And he is since then my guiding, I would say, guru in the process. And he has been here for in Ahmedabad also, and I'm taking quite advantage of his knowledge. So that was one thing. Another thing was as a building center. I went to the training center in the Chennai, and fortunately at that time the Glory Becker sir was sir has addressed our group, and we have so many stalwarts there lined up to exposures to the appropriate technologies and the practices being done in the south. And we also visited the Oro village, where the mud block work and the ferro cement, etc., was quite in good practice. And everybody knows about that, not doubt about that. But there I came to see this hand press machine, and this was my first machine I purchased for the block making. The uniqueness was that the people were always purchasing either the very low key machine, that is vibrator table and molding the bricks on that, or otherwise very high end hydraulic press, which will need a very good capital investment, and the you will get the good product. But the vibrator has limitation of the finishing and the product quality of the size and shape was difficult with the vibrator. With this adoption of hand press, I was getting a very good product. As you see, the finishing was quite a good. The investment was very less compared. In those days, it was a costly thing. 50,000 was the machine cost, but compared to the hydraulic press, it was quite a reasonable capital investment. And finishing and the quality, compactness, because of the compactness also density was improving and the strength was also improving. It is very efficient machine. Till date I am using this machine, though I have other automatic machines and many other machines with me. So this is a very compact and practical machine for producing samples or the small quantity of the work. We have actually, but this is small quantity is a very misnomer for this, because I will just come to the another slide. Project was computer center of CN school. The designer was the Suryabai Kakani, and the structural engineer was Himanshu Parikh. That was my first project, and it was a that his initiative, Suryabai's initiative, that they approved the product. And being my first project, and I was just new to the production process. I was not coping up with the supply schedule, or there were quite a few questions which would be difficult for me to answer to the contractors, because contractor has some resistance, or normally people have a resistance to use new material. So that was the support from that day one I am getting from the Suryabai, and we have done a lot of work together, which has been a wonders for me. So this is very important project for me. And after Kalol Joshi sir has given me this opportunity. This is the school complex in the Umbrelli, and he has designed that in an exposed fly ash brick. Fortunately, what happened that Umbrelli has a negative transportation, because the cement and every truckload comes to Ahmedabad but goes the empty back way. So it was very economical to transport that 250 kilometers back to Umbrelli, these fly ash products. And these all bricks, more than 10 lakhs bricks, we have produced on that hand press. My comparison was done with the time the AEC, Torrents tire company, was producing themselves, were producing the fly ash bricks. But they all were producing on the vibrator machine. So the finishing was not up to the mark, and the water absorption was very high. Here the density improved the water absorption as well as the surface texture, and that's how I got this project. And it was a huge opportunity, because in initial years, if you get this type of project, it is a very supportive in nature. Another opportunity came through the HUDCO. HUDCO gave me a very good two opportunities. One of them was they brought then rural housing minister to our place. As you see, it's very initial years of mine. There is no infrastructure there, but they brought the minister at that place and shown my product. And minister was very open. He himself had traveled to different places to have the best building construction methods for their Sardar Awas Yojana, which is a that time 25 square meter room they were giving to the rural poor, and that he wanted, and that was a very nominal cost 30,000. So there is a 1,200 rupees per square meter, which is a very tight budget at that time also, and he wanted to give the best, and that gave us the opportunity to think beyond the box, and we adopted the foundation, because there is a 6 by 4 meter or something room was there. So we took the advantage of load bearing construction. The major cost in foundation goes in the steel foundation. So we took this arch foundation design. As you see, it is a 1.5 meter deep foundation, which will be very stable, and the arch. The difficulty was to the execution process. We did a very simple template rod to address the material soil inside, and then the placing the arch block over that. So it was with local labors, with local artisans. We did more than 80 houses in the process. Very economical and cost-effective solution, but we don't look because the load bearing is not been thing, and then the load bearing has been avoided because the foundation cost is very high. This is a very cost effective solution to that. Another material we use was the hollow blocks. Hollow blocks, my belief is from the first day is that you should give the structure more stronger, and the finishing can be done later on by the occupants. And that we able, otherwise the conventional practice was that you need to give the plastered wall. But we convinced the minister and the department that we will give the finished quality, exposed quality block work, and we won't be doing the plaster. We will be spending more on the other aspect of the thing. So with local mason, the hollow block technology is very good. You have a very large module, and you the modular design will allow you to have exposed quality construction. So we had the plinth band, roof band, and this was done before the earthquake, and in the earthquake it was a very nothing damage was happened to this structure. This project was in Bagodra as well as near Baula, and the top precast roofing we adopted from the Gondal. Gondal is known for this Pidia Papda plank and joist roof. So that was the another addition. This total we were giving with, and there's painting. That pink and yellow is only the line paint with pigment added to that. And the mortar was at that time we used cement lime sand mortar to have a very cohesive and water retaining mortar. And after we used that arch blocks, as you might have noticed that the arch blocks were designed for that type of construction, but dimension was quite a appropriate to have the other uses also. So decorative uses also we have put. as I was telling about the opportunity given by the HUDCO, the second opportunity come in a way, rehabilitation work in the earthquake affected areas. They took me to the Dolavira. Was a difficult place because Dolavira is a border village and something 90 kilometers from Tapar, nearest town. So it was a very remote place. But although that was a very good training for me, or the exposure to execution of the this appropriate technology, they adopted up to the sea level. They adopted the random rubble masonry, which is locally available stone, and above that stabilized soil blocks. Although initially I did it mechanically because tender specification was telling, and I need to do. But then later on, I got in with the material, and it was quite interesting to explore this stabilized soil blocks, SMB or the SSB, as you call it. After completion of that housing project, and we did something 35 school buildings or the community buildings in the Rapa Tehsil. That was a very good execution job for me at that time. Later on, I won the tender for the ASI complex, that is Archaeological Survey of India's complex at Dolavira, being a Harappan site. They were planning that museum and the some guest house rooms for them. And again, the design was from the HUDCO, so they kept the same language, random rubble and the block making. What I took change in the doing is that I saw that the one very cumbersome thing is to mix the material. Raw material mixing is very cumbersome in the block making, and that increases the cost also because your labor puts idle for the mixing time, as well as the mixing 3 times is not always happening as and when the supervision won't be there. So I brought the pan mixture to mix that soil. As there was no electricity, we did it on the diesel engine, and that improved block quality drastically. This was vetted by Professor Arya. Professor Arya regularly visited our work. He was a proof consultant to the HUDCO, and that technical team was very happy with that development because some of the housing block project has the issue of erosion because the dispersion of binder, if it is not proper, or the stabilizer, then the erosion would be there. So that was a problematic. With a mechanical mixing, we improved on that. This is the project we did at for ASI Lavia. It was 1,300 square meter and composites for the large span building. Otherwise, it was a totally load bearing construction. I directly go from, because we are talking about the mud block, I will just connect you to the Ahmedabad house project. When Bijoy Jain proposed to build with the mud block, the client was very of using the mud block for their permanent residence, and the structural engineers was also questioning the product. So we went to this project Dolavira, which we executed something 8-9 years back, and there the mud blocks was standing tall against the odd weather conditions, like the desert has a very high wind with the sand blowing with the wind. So the erosion was almost nil after 8-9 years, and the only and no other damages was also seen. So ultimately, SMB win the race. And as introduced by my very good friend Devang Bhai and Jagdish Bhai, we were in the project for manufacturing the mud blocks for that project. By the time Dignesh, my very good friend, was with me, and he because this was a very prestigious project and the quantity was large, we thought of having a automatic machine for this. And he found out very good machine manufacturer from the Chennai, where they were manufacturing hydro-vibro press for concrete. But the beauty of this machine can control the frequency of vibration, timing of vibration, etc. It was almost a copy of or the inspired from the highly automatic machine of the abroad. So it has a very good PLC controls, and so we see the opportunity to adopt this machine for the soil block making, because otherwise soil block has a very different tendency to the concrete mix. Concrete mix has that coarse aggregate, and the cohesivity is not that high as what we get in this lime-based mix and the soil-based mix. So, but manufacturer also supported, and the visions Jignesh has put was very fruitful for till date. The another thing was Bichoy was wanted the thin units, that is 50 mm. He was not ready for the 60 mm also. Fortunately, we took that ahead with the module of normal brick, plan module of normal brick size. That is, we because he wanted a thin, longer unit, we took it at the length of 350, and the depth of that unit is a 230. This is 350, and this is 230, and 50 mm thickness. And the another was the half of that, 110, 230 ka half, and the 350 length. So with this thickness, if you, this is very similar to the country bricks people were using earlier. But the country bricks was a different module, 300 by 150, almost in that range. Would have gone to that size, it would be very difficult to adopt for the another project, because some single project can be designed for a particular size. But if it has to be a multiple application, then it has to be some conventional module. So we fortunately had that thing in the mind, and had very good module, 350 by 230, and it is very popular with the upcoming projects. Further going, I'm just continuing with soil block technology. Further, we got the opportunity to full-scale testing of Nalanda project, where the Sangat was architect and the Professor V.R. Shah was a structural engineer. And they wanted, they got the mixed design from the Mrinmay Bangalore, which is the Professor Jagdish and the associates organization. And they have given a very good design for the blocks. But to clear any doubt, they wanted to have a full-scale manufacturing process, and that they supplied us a 20 ton of soil from the Bihar, Nalanda here, and we manufactured blocks with that proportion. What we seem little bit modification was done by us is we took surki instead of fly ash as a pozzolana. So that was to give some reddish tint to the brick, and that gave a very good result also. And we did it a full-scale testing, compressive test, water absorption test, and this simulated weathering test with to 5 kg pressure for 2.5 hours. For that, we took the industrialized pressure pumps and etc., and we took that to the final. And this whole process was vetted by IIT Mumbai. The further testing was done at Nirma also, but this was a very good opportunity to thoroughly test the soil blocks. By the time we were doing this mud blocks, etc., our conscience were always biting that we are using natural resources like sand to manufacture fly ash-based product, because the fly ash-based product has something 40-50% of sand content. And to reduce that or to replace that, we took advantage of debris available in and around us everywhere. Plenty of resources are there. So we took the crusher and the sieve set, started doing recycling the debris as well as the other raw material. This is what that crusher opened up a vast range of material which needs to be crushed and used for the manufacturing unit. And the further we also installed the hammer mill to grind it very fine. So recycle aggregate was available with the other technical support. We were able to construct self-compacting concrete with recycle aggregate. That was a very good exposure to the concrete mix design as well as the self-compacting concrete. This arch was done for the IIM new building where they planned the precast arches, but later on they could not place it in the launch into the place. So ultimately it was not placed in the IIM, but we did the mold and precasting with the self-compacting concrete. Now, if you look at the machinery, we were building up a very good infrastructure with us. We had crusher, we had a hammer mill, and the automatic machine, and the module, as I discussed, was there. So we have different pigments, and we did not any require pigments, and different material gave us the colors or hues of the product. This is with the surki, this is with the flash, this is the soil block. So the basic color, and then we got the ceramic tile paste, which we could grind and use as a raw material. Then foundry sand also we have used as a raw material. So the varying color and different products could be manufactured in combination of this. I was it's sheer luck that in one of the workshop I was discussing the lime and pozzolanic reaction, and the architect clicked the message and gave us the restoration supplying of lime mortar for the restoration work of Sardar Bhavan in Shahibad. So we got the opportunity, and that opened up a new line for us as a business. And because we had the crusher and the hammer mill, we could grind the brick beds very fine and prepare the surki for the needed for the lime mortar. And the whole complex was finished with lime mortar. And we got very good help from Nizamuddin Chacha, which he was coming from the Bikaner. He just passed out, but he was a very good guy who gave us a very good guidance. Though you have a technical knowledge, but you need some practical aspect to understand the material. So he was a very good guiding person for the lime mortar for us. Another good support by Surya Bhai. We had the bricks with the debris, and particularly these bricks were made from the surki. So we got brick beds from our surrounding kiln, lime brick kiln, and grounded it very fine and made the bricks out of that. Using lime mortar, he has built his own office, basement plus 3-story. So this was a unique confidence building opportunity, because your material is being used as a load bearing in the load bearing construction, and that too with lime mortar, which has been forgotten almost from the building industry. So that time we supplied the wet lime mortar for this project, and these very initial brick manufactured from the surki. If you look at the color of it, is quite dull, and the corners were not sharp, because we were just beginning with that material. It was not up to the mark, or the final finish was not there. But he never complained, but always being supportive of using. Otherwise, I don't think we could have supplied this much bricks on any project. To improve on that Surki bricks, to do we were not clear about. But my role as a faculty, and I was taking student to the industrial tour. We went to the Morbi, and there we seen the cycle of manufacturing of the mangrove tiles. I was seeing that for third time, but that time it clicked. Whatever the clay they are processing was apt for binding this type of bricks. So if you connect in a soil block, also you consider the clay as a binder, and the lime and cement are the stabilizer. Here also we adopted the same principle: the clay as a binder, Turkey as a sandy and silty material, but adding lime to that would also introduce the lime pozzolanic reaction. More binder would be there, and the cement third consistency would be there. So that ultimate product was came after 2-3 years of first Surki bricks, and was a very good click. In fact, one of the very big project of Aniket by Bhagwat, sir, we could not cope up again the production issues and the supply issues, and we thought we have ruined our reputation and we won't be back for such a huge project. But he supported with repeated usage of this material, and the material is in now very good quantum we are producing, and we are very confident of. Another good, as I told, Surya used that wet lime mortar, but the difficulty was wet lime mortar was that you need supply was very difficult. The transporter won't be ready to carry the loose wet lime. Earlier, the people were used to see the wet lime, and the special trailer were there to transport the material. But now the truck owners won't be allow you to transport this type of corrosive material in their trucks. Another thing is it has a limitation because it has to be used within a 7-8 days. It has to be consumed, and you cannot supply 3 cubic meter in a transport. You have to give 6 cubic meter or something to make it viable. So that was a very difficult period to do that. So that and the connection with the Jagdish sir and the going here and there, we connected the dots and we started making dry lime mortar. We took the hydrated lime and mixed with that surki, pozzolanic material, to make the hydraulic lime mortar. And that has served the purpose, and it was quite easy to transport and use anywhere. Now we were able to, it is unfortunate that nobody in India now manufactures the lime for the building industry. Very few people, or I would say very few people, are manufacturing. So until the Mizoram, they took this material for restoration work and reconstruction, rehabilitation work. It has been used for a new construction also. Number of projects has been built with the lime mortar, new construction with the lime mortar. And Vignesh has took it more further with the finishing with the lime and marble that is known in this region. It is known as a jiki finish, or the kada finish using pigment. Also, this was done by the one of the project by Hunashala, but Vignesh also does this type of sort of work. Few other developments we were with was working with the Himanshu Pari, the structural engineer. He was used to design the pillar slab, and the pillar slab was done with this type of hollow blocks, size varying according to the depth required for the slab. This is a quite large one, something 14 meter diameter was of this circle, and we wanted to reduce the weight of that block. The normal web thickness of the hollow block are 30 mm. But he started with 24 and pushed us to 20 For the 20 our block manufacturer, which was doing very good work since 1950. Dinkar Bhai was himself was a technical person and doing this work, manufacturing of mold, etc. He was not ready to manufacture. At the point, Himanshu sir threatened us with the cancellation of the order and pushed us to make the 20 thickness. We could it and we did it with the thermocol bits, and that also recycled thermocol uh, bits. So we reduced the normal density of hollow blocks from 1200 something 1100 to 1200 kg per meter cube to something 650 kg per meter cube. So that type of interaction and the pressure you need to have something new on your hand. All this I wanted to share, and always the question is there: what is next? So my intention is that the center should provide the platform for the others to have experimentation and something people are allowed to do practicals over there, share their knowledge, have a workshop over there, or something interacting. It will go on manufacturing the regular products, but along with that, this type of mix and match process should be continued. That's all from.
Thank you, Keyur bhai. Can you please stop sharing your screen?
Yes.
It was wonderful, Keyur bhai, to see the journey of the Kesarjan, starting from the initial years of the low-cost housing projects that you shared with us. And I have been following it up. I have also visited Kesarjan many a times, and maybe I had an idea only up to a certain point of time. And I think there is a lot of new products that have come about, uh, even in the recycled blocks also, and a lot of new things. For example, in the lime plaster you talked about the dry form in which it can be supplied. So these are the new things that I could actually get from your presentation, and it is as you move along, new uh, products are being added to the Kesarjan. That was a really fantastic thing to see.
Thank you. Thank you.
My question is uh, one, let me start with the appropriate materials and sustainable materials. Normally, when we talk about appropriate or sustainable materials, there's a kind of a material palette that comes to our mind. For example, bamboo, earth construction, something that is usually comes from the tradition. Uh, do you think that when it comes to the urban context, or when it comes to the larger cities, there is a different kind of an approach to alternative materials is needed? The one which is stresses more on the recycling, the one which stresses more focus on completing certain loops which are already there. So, is there a different kind of a take on appropriate materials in the context of urban, the larger cities, that is needed?
Definitely. There is a very vast palette available to the urban, or I would say the any building construction activity. Because if you see, Malav, if we start with the waste, then the 90% of solid waste generated is by volume is I would say inert material, which can be stabilized and used as a building material. As I said, fly ash is one of that. Ceramic tiles, if you go to the Morbi, you will see huge uh, dumps of the ceramic tiles, which are backed and very good pozzolanic material. So, and the construction and demolition waste. The official collection of the Ahmedabad city is something 500 ton per day of construction and demolition waste. So that has to be fixed somewhere and put it to the use. So that is the one opportunity. And what happens that the urban user wants some type of consistency or the assurance that the material performs. Well, and the another disadvantage with the mud is that association with the poor quality. Though it is not, I definitely don't promote that part of that. But it is hard to convert the whole mass from negative to the positive. We may show some examples and we can promote that type of material. But this type of material which can be assured and industrial scale पे जो produce कर सकते हैं, that would be a more applicable to the urban market.
Yeah, definitely. So that is how the entrepreneurial approach makes much more sense to a lot of these processes. So, like you were talking about the adaptiveness from the common people to a lot of these technologies, and one of the issue that always thrown at these appropriate or the sustainable technologies is in terms of the cost. So how do many of the technologies, the materials that you are manufacturing, they perform in terms of cost compared to, let's say, the conventional RCC brick construction?
Mm, uh, as if you take the debris recycling, what I would say, the first thing would come to the mind that it is produced from the waste, so the cost would be quite less. But that is not true because one, we don't care where to throw the waste. So you need to collect waste yourself and recycle it. The generator is not bothered about what is happening to the. Very few people would be bothered to call you and give you your waste, and that is not practical also. So one is the cost of the material, and the recycling is costlier than the sand available because sand is easily available in our region. So what I take waste and recycle it is always costlier than the normal fly ash brick manufacturer because I am replacing sand with costlier material. But then I need to put some value addition to that, which will make it a viable thing. So value addition, I have, well, I mean, initially as I have heard of lot about in the management, but practically I could do with this type of application that you improve the shape, size, and the strength, which will make it more economical for the user point of view. Or there is some value as a exposed quality brick. So that is not you are not comparing with the normal quality bricks. You are avoiding the plaster. You are avoiding. So that type of value addition would help us to popularize the alternative or appropriate technology.
So basically, what you are saying is that whole lot of other things are because of it has a better strength, better density, good water absorption.
Mm.
So it is almost can be compared to the class one bricks that is normally would
Mm.
be for the burnt bricks. And if I do that, then it I am not going to compare it with the conventional
Yes.
bricks. Also, the need for the plastering is reduced, or even if you do want to plaster.
Yes. To be in fact.
uh, just wanted to ask you regarding the entrepreneurship. You said in the beginning that you did a course at EDI which
Mm.
helped you in getting uh, the necessary skills to set up entrepreneurship. Now, usually, the civil engineers and architects are not the kind of people who are entrepreneurship ready people, you know. So, how has been your experience with the Kesarjan over these period in terms of development of the center?
Initial for understanding the EDI course was quite good, but the practical teaching is quite tough. Well, it is hard ways we learn the commercial things. When we purchased that new machine for that Ahmedabad house, that cost was something 30 lakhs and largely supported by the friend Devang Bhai and as an advance from the order we got. Now, any good financer won't advise this. You finance your capital investment with the working capital. Okay. And we finance our machine from the working capital. So by the halfway of the project, we were run out of the money. And you are in such a soup that you can't tell your client that we need money because he has advanced you the money. And you are not performing, you won't be able to perform that swiftly and you will suffer a lot. And that mistake has been done twice or thrice. So there are number of mistakes because your commercial understanding is very bad. And it has to be do with the personal trait also. I am not so much about the commercial thing, so that has a problem. Otherwise, somebody more commercial minded people might, but then they won't experiment this much. I think that is the balancing fact. If you do a commercial thinking every time, there is a limitation of your action because using debris instead of sand is not viable, and that's why nobody is recycling the debris because it's costlier than sand. So commercial, it balances and you learn hard way.
Yeah. Let me come to the materials, some of the materials that you've been manufacturing. Let me come to the lime mortar. So, traditionally, when the lime mortar has been used, some of the other pozzolanic material is added, either whether it is surkhi, fly ash, or volcanic ash. So, you've also been using the surkhi primarily as a pozzolanic material in the lime mortar that you manufacture, but you also mentioned that you use a whole lot of other materials, traditional materials like gugar and methi and molash. So what is the role of these other ingredients? Because one can understand the pozzolanic materials presence in with the lime, and what is this other materials do in the lime mortar?
Frankly speaking, we are blindly following the traditional practices. We don't have any base whatsoever. Practically, Nizamuddin Chacha or people have told us that molasses or the good give you the workability. Methi has been used in the Kutch for binding their white clay. If they are doing the white clay decorative work, they bind it with the methi. So methi has definitely binding power. Gugar was very known material for the binding as a binder in Saurashtra region. So we know the value, but I have not been able to translate it through the experiments or the testing methodology. We have prepared number of specimens, but it is not consistent. That by adding this concoction, we are improving on certain parameters. There are limitations because I have very limited infrastructure, so it might not be that true. But people have studied the effect of that, and it's very highly technically. They are proving that sometimes it helps. But I think we need to believe the tradition till our engineers' minds are approving the material itself. But as if you see the difference with the gugar and methi concoction, the lime would be much easier to work with in the winter. In absence of gugar and methi, it would be hard to apply because it takes longer time to harden and etc. So practically, we have seen, we have heard the usage, but technically yet to be proved the helpfulness of.
It's a great idea to have a lime mortar as a product because it's a wonderful thing to. Now earlier you were supplying the wet lime, I believe. That's what I know, because but today you talked about the dry format. Now, what are the challenges when it comes to the lime mortar? Is it that it needs too much of care, uh, etc.? People don't use it, or is it the other materials are very convenient? You can just go ahead, do the cement plaster, and get rid of that thing. So, what has been your experience with lime, making the lime mortar into the mainstream, bringing it into more and more as a kind of a product rather than uh, just a simple application?
What I would say, it's not the replacing the cement, because the lime mortar would be always costlier. Because nowadays lime is not manufactured for the building industry, and it is being used for pharma industry or the industrial use. So the cost structure, no, I won't say pricing is based on their usage value. It is not the exact pricing of as a cement. It is for the consumer. They are cost effective because the scale of cement producing is very economical, and the lime is scale is small and the usage is different, so the pricing is different for us. So you won't be able to, but it is a our choice by awareness. It has a positive aspects, positive properties that will affect my living area environment. So it is for them making it convenient to use, because earlier the process was you soak it in the water, hydrate it for a very long time, then mix it and mix thoroughly with the raw material with that chakti, and then use it is very difficult nowadays. It is not going to be a practical of that approach. And even though I mix it at factory, wet lime, then the transportation is difficult. So dry lime was not an invention. It was there as a lime pozzolanic material code as depicted, but people have not approached the material on that line. Cement was replacing a very localized material. So the standardization was not there. Lime was not that quality assurance was not there. Cement has immediately replaced the lime. But if you look at the masonry and plastering property, you need lime for better behavior or the properties. So taking the more technical approach of lime pozzolanic reaction would assure the range of property you need, and the assurance or the ease of usage would be there. So it has removed the necessity of the lime mixture also, that pan chakti is not needed.
Yes.
So that has made it more convenient to.
Yeah. Also, it has a better life cycle cost, suppose, compared to the cement plaster, if I may say. So, like we already talked about the better U value because it has a porosity.
Mm,
So, there are certain other performance costs that
yes.
you can recover over a period of time, which are there. So one last question, what I would, because you said you've been involved with academics, you've been engaging with the students, workshops, and you also have some goals. Uh, what do you think is the current engineering and the architecture education needs to be molded so that these kind of more entrepreneurships can take place from the young engineers and architects?
Big, difficult question, and very wide uh, area. But definitely, one I have advantages. They exposed us to a number of industry in SBST. From first year, we were visiting the site. Matlab, every Saturday, you go on the industry. First year, industry pe jao. Then you go to the commercial construction. Then you go to the industrial construction. So more the exposure would be, more the wider vision your vision would be, will transform into a concrete thing, something. My classmates have done a very thing of work. So need not to be the entrepreneurship in the manufacturing only. It can be a construction, contracting, etc. But the exposure is needed. One is the thing is that, and they themselves have to dive. Today, the surfing is limited to Google. Fortunately, in our time, Google was not there, I think. And well, visiting Raichur is now, people won't think in that days where the infrastructure was so poor. I won't say so poor, but it was different than today's infrastructure. And visiting Raichur from here is not thought of. But that type of diving is necessary to explore the thing.
So a lot of hands-on approach is what you are suggesting, number one, and also being connected with the industry, with what is
Yes.
going on with the outside world, is important not only for the architects but also for the engineers, for
Definitely.
them to be aware of a lot of these loops which are there, which they can actually come and sort of complete, and a lot of new ways can come out of that thing. And it's not necessary that you only stick to the manufacturing, but a lot of other ways also through which these entrepreneurships can take
Hmm.
place. So it was wonderful to see your presentation, the journey of Kesarjan. Wonderful to talk to you. Keyur bhai, thank
Thank
you so
you. Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for giving us your time.
Bye.
So I would just like to conclude here by thanking all the people who have joined us with us on Facebook and YouTube. So this was the second interview in our ongoing series. Next Saturday we'll have our third interview with architect Sanjay Prakash from Shift Studio Delhi at 11 a.m. So I hope to see you all back on that day. Thank you so much.